welcome back. Today, we're unpacking an explainer on one of the absolute most surreal, kind of mind-blowing political phenomenons in recent history. We're zooming in on India, specifically May 2026. This was when a random internet meme didn't just, go viral for a day. It actually mobilized into a massive organized movement called the Cockroach Janta Party, or the CJP. If you've been watching all this unfold on your feed and wondering, wait, how on earth did a literal bug become the face of a youth resistance? Well, you are in the exact right place. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick look at where we're headed. First, an unlikely political symbol. Then, the spark and the fuel. After that, humor as a weapon. What do they actually want? And finally, meme or real political party. So, Section 1, an unlikely political symbol. Think about it. In the world of political mascots, you're usually seeing these majestic animals, right? Like elephants or maybe powerful symbols like a raised fist or a blooming lotus. Deliberately adopting a universally disliked, scuttling insect as your rallying image? That seems completely counterintuitive, literally the opposite of what you'd expect. But listen to this one really powerful sentence. If you call us cockroaches, then all the cockroaches will unite. By taking an insult that was entirely meant to degrade them and just proudly wearing it as a badge of honor, the youth completely stripped that insult of its power. It's really the ultimate underdog strategy. It instantly treated this undeniable sense of shared identity and sheer defiance. So let's officially define what we're looking at here. The Cockroach Janta Party, or CJP for short, is a youth-led political satire movement. It was founded by Abhijeet Dipke back in May 2026. And honestly, the choice of the cockroach is so deeply symbolic. Think about it. What is a cockroach most famous for? Surviving. Surviving against impossible odds, surviving in the dark, surviving environments that would literally crush anything else. And for millions of young Indians who are feeling completely ignored or politically powerless, well, that symbolism just resonated perfectly. It was a perfect match. Moving right along to Section 2, the spark and the fuel. To really wrap our heads around a movement that explodes overnight, we've got to separate the immediate spark from the underlying societal fuel. Okay, so the spark was struck on day one. Controversy just erupted over alleged remarks made by Supreme Court Judge Surya Kant during a court hearing. Reports were circulating wildly online that he had compared certain unemployed youth and activists to cockroaches or parasites. Now, while clarifications were later issued, the internet had already completely run with the narrative. By day 2, viral outrage was just sweeping across social media. Then, on day 3, we see that psychological pivot where the youth actually reclaimed the insult. And boom, by day 4, the CJP movement was born. I mean, it happened in the blink of an eye. So the crucial point is that a joke or a reclaimed insult only really catches fire if there's real-world fuel burning right underneath it. And let me tell you, that fuel was severe. Young people weren't just reacting to a quote, they were interpreting that alleged court statement through the lens of their everyday, daily struggles. We're talking massive job shortages, agonizingly long government recruitment delays, widespread scandals and leaks in highly competitive exams like the NEET exams, and on top of all that, a skyrocketing cost of living and education. So you see, the dissatisfaction, it was already there, simmering. The CJP just came along and gave it a mascot.
All right, Section 3, humor as a weapon.
Now, you might be wondering, how did they actually organize all this without traditional town halls or handing out pamphlets? Well, they bypassed those conventional barriers entirely by leaning hard into digital culture. Step 1, create highly shareable, completely satirical posters and memes. Step 2, spam the cockroach emoji everywhere. Just flood the comments. And step 3, which is honestly the most vital part of the whole operation, use humor to reduce the fear of political participation. Look, direct, angry political critique can be polarizing, right? And sometimes it's professionally risky for young folks. But humor provides this impenetrable shield. It is so much safer and way easier for Gen Z to critique the establishment by sharing an absurd Instagram reel or a funny AI-generated graphic rather than sticking their necks out at a protest or giving some heated speech. 20 million. Seriously, over 20 million followers across platforms in a matter of days. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's a mind-boggling scale. This staggering, totally unprecedented speed of growth made it one of the fastest rising political and social media phenomena India has ever witnessed. And obviously, it drew intense, nonstop coverage from both national and international media. You literally couldn't look away.
Which brings us to Section 4. What do they actually want?
Because right, what happens after the meme goes viral? What happens when you suddenly have 20 million people paying attention to an insect? Well, you have to pivot to serious policy demands. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when you strip away the satire. the CJP's core demands are actually deeply serious requests for government transparency. Let's break it down. They want comprehensive education reform to fix severely outdated systems. They are aggressively demanding a hard stop to exam leaks, pointing straight at the NEET scandals that have basically destroyed institutional trust. They want real, actionable job creation to combat severe youth unemployment. And fundamentally, at the root of the whole shebang, they just want genuine youth representation because they feel entirely ignored by the traditional political class. Let's move on to Section 5, Meme or Real Political Party. As we neutrally examine the CJP's long-term viability, observers generally tend to fall into one of three distinct camps. Viewpoint 1 sees the CJP strictly as a meme movement, like a brilliant piece of internet activism and satire for sure, but nothing more than that. Viewpoint 2, however, sees it as a genuine protest movement, where the humor is really just the communication tool being used for actual real resistance. And then Viewpoint 3 sees it as a rapidly developing political platform, and actually, to support that third view, founder Abhijeet Dipke has recently begun defending the formal transition of the movement, and they're actively releasing concrete, real-world policy proposals, particularly around education, so it's really evolving. Now, of course, it's absolutely vital to neutrally present the very real criticisms facing the movement right now. Political commentators rightly point out that a like or a follow on Instagram simply does not equal a mobilized voter at the ballot box. It just doesn't. Furthermore, there's a really strong argument floating around that this explosive growth is driven purely by the sheer novelty of the meme, rather than, any deep, long-term political commitment. And finally, as it stands today, the CJP currently lacks the established organizational structure and that grassroots, boots-on-the-ground machinery that traditional political parties rely on to sustain momentum over the years. But regardless of whether the CJP actually evolves into a traditional party or eventually just fades back into internet history, its historical significance is already cemented. It all really boils down to this one powerful sentiment. We feel ignored, and we found a way to make ourselves impossible to ignore. It's incredible. A single viral symbol, combined with the genuine, real-world frustration of an entire generation, entirely bypassed millions of dollars of traditional political campaigning. They created a national conversation in literally days. For anyone observing modern politics, it is an absolute masterclass in how disenfranchised groups can hijack the algorithm and force their way to the table. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. Can a viral symbol, born from a casual insult and wrapped entirely in internet humor, actually reshape the hard reality of real-world politics? It's a massive question, and it frankly challenges everything we know about digital-first democracy. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for watching Lex India. Stay informed and know your rights. Subscribe for more legal insights.